Thank you, everyone. I invite Director, Delhi School of Economics, Professor Ram Singh, to kindly deliver the welcome address and introduce the dignitary.
A very good morning. Dr. P.K. Mishra, Chief Guest and Principal Secretary to the Honorable Prime Minister of India. Professor Yogesh Singh, Honorable Vice Chancellor, University of Delhi. Professor K.L. Krishna, the senior most member of DSE fraternity. My colleagues on the dais, Professor Rohini Somanathan, Professor Andita Datta, and Professor Anuja Agarwal. Former directors, heads of departments at Delhi School of Economics, guests, distinguished chairs and speakers, my dear faculty members at Delhi School of Economics, staff and students of Delhi School of Economics. It is my pleasure and honor to welcome you to the inaugural session of the DSE Diamond Jubilee Conference. With this, we are celebrating 75th year of glorious existence of Delhi School of Economics, and you saw flavor of it in the film that we just witnessed. The celebrations were initiated by my predecessor, former director, Professor Pamidua. As a part of Diamond Jubilee celebrations, we have organized several distinguished lectures, and some more lectures are to come. This conference, however, is unique in the sense that it has multiple sessions. It is our attempt to showcase the legacy and present strength of Delhi School of Economics. The visibility and the mark that DSE fraternity has made in all walk of academic, social, and policy lives. The conference title is Honoring Legacy and Inspiring Tomorrow. That captures the essence and motivation and the idea behind this conference. Honoring legacy of Delhi School of Economics, Delhi School of Economics that started as a one-man department with a generous contribution of 9 acres of land by University of Delhi. Now it stands as a great institution, and where we have 6 buildings on the campus. 9-acre land contribution by University of Delhi was made by then Vice Chancellor Sir Maurice Guare. The school, and it was still a one-department school, came back to the fold of University of Delhi by 1957-58, along with the property that goes with it. Now, Delhi School has, in the form of Professor V.K. R.V. Rao, Professor M.N. Srinivas, Professor George Korean, the DSE has produced a glorious legacy. On whichever yardstick we use to measure it, whichever way we look at it, whether we look at research contributions, research at Delhi School of Economics has led to awarding of Nobel Prizes in economics. Research at Delhi School of Economics has led to addressing of various social economic policy issues and very active engagement with the government at the center and also at the state levels. Past DSE faculty and alums have served as cabinet ministers in Union Government of India, members and chairmen of Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister, chairmen and members of Finance Commission, Planning Commission, and Pay Commissions, chairmen and members of statistical commissions, secretaries in different departments of Government of India and various state government, chief economic advisors to Government of India, and vice chancellors to University of Delhi, DSE has given 4 vice chancellors to University of Delhi, and several other state and other national universities. Shown to serve as CMD chairman come managing directors of leading corporations. So that's the legacy. What about the present? At present also, the presence is equally visible, equally dominant. Principal Secretary to the Honorable Prime Minister of India is amidst us. He is a DSE alums. Chairman of the Economic Advisory Council to the Honorable Prime Minister is a DSE alumnus. A member of Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council is a DSE alumna. The people who will take part in this conference include Chief Economist of IMF, former Chief Economist of the World Bank, Chief Economic Advisors, Chief Statistician of India, Secretaries to various Government of India departments, Chief Economist of various leading banks in the country, and CMDs of several corporations. They will be actively participating in this mega event. All conference chair speakers, they are member of DSE fraternity. In keeping with the DSE legacy, the conference will debate various policy issues, academic issues, and social issues. As a director of Delhi School, I feel that honoring this glorious legacy means that we should strive for higher ranking at world level, at department level, at institution level. In the spirit of national education policy, access, equity, quality with accountability. And our research should have social consciousness. And our contribution to policy making processes should be enhanced further. And we have the potential to do so. We have the potential to deliver on this 3-pronged mission. I am happy, it is my honor to share with our honorable chief guest that all 3 departments here, sir, they are among the very best in the country. Moreover, they have fairly decent standing internationally. International rankings are also something that we can take a lot of comfort in. And DSE, all its departments attract the very best of students in the country. Third evidence I want to give you is what you just witnessed, you saw, the film. The film on DSE is an in-house production. Everything is sourced in-house, including the voice, that our students' ability. But the question we have to ask is that with this much of richness of human resources and inspiring legacy, how are we going to shape our tomorrow? The conference will deliberate on these issues. We have a special session on shaping agenda for the DSE. And we have honor of having our chief guest, who is embodiment, who is an epitome of the 3-pronged strategy that I have shared with you. Dr. Pramod Kumar Mishra, IAS, epitomizes all this. Dr. P.K. Mishra, at present Principal Secretary to Honorable Prime Minister of India, has a career profile comprising research publications, policy design, formulation, and program implementation. He has varied work experience in management of programs at grassroots level relating to agriculture, disaster management, power sector, infrastructure financing, and regulatory issues. He is a PhD in economics from University of Sussex in UK. He has 2 master's degrees, one of course from the Delhi School of Economics and other from University of Sussex. In 2019, he was conferred United Nations Sasakama Award, which is most prestigious international award in disaster management. To give you some flavor of his academic writings, he has published books on Kutch earthquake, 2001, recollections, lessons, and insights. He has written a book entitled Agriculture Risk, Insurance, and Income, which is a very important reading. He has edited a book on agriculture insurance for Asian Productivity Organization, Tokyo. In a recently published book, Recalibre, Changing Paradigm, he has contributed 5 chapters, 5 papers. He has presented papers in national and international seminars and has published in national and international journals. He has given invited keynote inaugural talks in several academic and policy conferences. He was instrumental in various programs of Government of India. As a part of Prime Minister's office since 2014, Dr. Mishra is credited with introducing transformative changes, particularly when it comes to human resources and senior level appointments. And he was one of the key persons behind when we witnessed transformative and unprecedented response to COVID after second wave. The unprecedented coverage at unprecedented speed that vaccination was delivered, he was the key person behind that. He has served as chairman of various coordination committees of G20 presidency. The success of G20 presidency we witnessed, we celebrated, owe a great deal to his work in the background. He has served as secretary in Ministry of Agriculture also during 2006-8. And during this tenure, Dr. Mishra was actively involved in path-breaking national initiatives such as National Agriculture Development Program and National Food Security Mission. With such a vast experience and coming from both sides of the table, so to speak, we look forward to you, Dr. Mishra, for your work, for motivation, for inspiration, and also for your guidance when we shape our agenda for future. We are also going to benefit today from presence and address of Honorable Vice Chancellor Yogesh Singh, who is a computer scientist. He has won Best Research Awards in his field. He is an alumnus of International Leadership Program at Yale, among many others. He is among the most dynamic and efficient of vice chancellors that university has seen. He is providing exemplary leadership on national education policy. So, Honorable Vice Chancellor, we thank you for this, among many other things, for all the support that you and your administration has promptly always provided to Delhi School of Economics, and we look forward to your words of wisdom. Thank you so much.
Now, we welcome our chief guest, Dr. P.K. Mishra, to deliver the inaugural address.
Professor Yogesh Singh, Vice Chancellor, Delhi University. Professor K.L. Krishna, who just spoke, and as a very good teacher, he made it so interesting that I will sound very boring. Professor Ram Singh, Director, Delhi School of Economics. Professor Anindita Datta, Professor Anuja Agrawal, Professor Rohini Somanathan, distinguished alumni, faculty, and other members present here, and my dear students. I never miss an opportunity to come to Delhi School of Economics. I think last few years I have come probably this time, third time. One always has a sense of nostalgia on coming to one's alma mater, having several memorable experiences. This institution symbolizes the vision of Professor V.K. R.V. Rao, who strived to set up a world-class institution in economics and social sciences. As it was shown in the video presented. Dedicated and brilliant individuals have contributed to its development over the years. Eminent economists have taught here. Numerous social scientists from across the world have visited and addressed the faculty and students. For 7.5 decades, the Delhi School of Economics has been a beacon of academic excellence, shaping the minds of generations of economists, scholars, and leaders in various fields. Much has changed since I was at the Delhi School of Economics in the 1970s. I still recall those early days when it was for me a new experience, having come from a small place. It was a new experience for me to be in the midst of students from various parts of the country and the distinguished teachers of the time, many of whom were mentioned here today. I have today the unique privilege of sharing the dais with Professor K.L. Krishna, who taught us econometric methods those days. For generations of students, he has been an inspiration. Not only the students, but also very eminent economists who are present here today. And I still recall very vividly how he used to teach very complex concepts in a very simple way, and how he was very responsive to the needs of the students, and he was very popular. Because those days I remember in Delhi school, many of the eminent teachers, though they were very eminent, knowledgeable, but the teaching may not be as interesting. But Professor K.L. Krishna was always very interesting for the students. I was here last year on the occasion of possibly the inauguration of the Diamond Jubilee celebration of the Delhi School of Economics. At that time, I had highlighted some of the efforts made by the government to create a policy environment that encourages increased capital formation, both private and public, increased employment opportunities, higher total factor productivity, appropriate use of technology, and inclusive approach to development. During my last address, I discussed the economic journey of India in the last 10 years, significant challenges, policy response of the government, and path-breaking achievements as a country. That time I had touched upon reform measures such as insolvency and bankruptcy code, goods and services tax, banking reforms, further liberalization of foreign direct investment policy, simplification of regulatory framework, and elimination of unnecessary compliances. I had also talked about the Gati Shakti, which is a unique framework for planning of infrastructure and economic activities. In fact, it has been a very unique framework which has helped us optimize location and even planning the development activities for infrastructure and other economic activities. I had also given some illustrations of inclusive approach and effective delivery of benefits to target population, also about the technology, use of technology for direct benefit transfers to crores of beneficiaries, digital public infrastructure which has been globally acclaimed, and of course startup ecosystem and so on. Yesterday, the Prime Minister, when he addressed the nation from the rampart of the Red Fort, very elaborately explained some of these efforts. And of course, the newspapers today talk, of course, more focus is on the Uniform Civil Code and all that, but he very extensively dealt with the development journey of the country. And of course, the Viksit Bharat. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has given a clarion call to make India a developed country, Viksit Bharat by 2047. The documentary also ended with that. To become a developed country, India needs to go beyond achieving the desired level of per capita income. Going beyond that, the economy will be more inclusive and innovative. Women will be leading India's development story. We should achieve economic, social, and environmental sustainability. In order to withstand disruptions of supply chain, India needs to become Atmanirbhar in critical areas. On this also, the Prime Minister yesterday very elaborately explained what he visualizes as a Viksit Bharat of a developed country. As I have mentioned earlier and I had mentioned last time, a number of reform measures have been taken. More than that, in addition to that, I would like to highlight one aspect, the transformative measures in terms of increasing public investment, which has been increased almost 10 times if you compare the figures 10 years before 2014 and after 2014. For example, the budget provision for 10 years for public investment in the budget was about 13 lakh crores 10 years before 2014, which has increased to about 44 lakh crores till 2023-24 last time. So 3 times the public investment. Of course, when I give the figure of how much was spent from the budget, it is all nominal terms and economists may not accept the comparison because they are nominal terms. But if you look at the percent of capital investment provided in the budget, in the 13-14 it was about 14%, which has increased to 23%, which is a very big jump with the higher base of the budget figure. And all this has been done with fiscal consolidation also. The fiscal deficit last year was 5.6 and this year it is projected to be 4.9. So thus, apart from the reform, the thrust on the public investment, I think, will bring about encouraging more about private investment and also not only growth but also increased employment. The budget presented very recently last month focuses on 9 very priority areas, like for example productivity and resilience in agriculture, employment and skilling, inclusive human resource development and social justice, manufacturing and services, urban development, energy security, infrastructure, innovation, research and development, and next generation reform. There is a lot of focus on reforms, not only in the budget but also in the Prime Minister what he spoke yesterday. Today we stand at the threshold of history, at the pivotal moment that will define the destiny of our great nation. We must recognize the criticality of the years ahead and the transformative potential that hold for our people, our economy and our standing among global community. Thus, there are opportunities but also challenges. Some of the challenges to achieve the Viksit Bharat, because we can visualize Viksit Bharat, we can do many things in the budget and also as policy, but there are challenges which we must be aware of and try to address. Some of those I would like to mention, like for example, harnessing demographic dividend. Though we talk about demographic dividend and we'll be having this for the next many years, but how to harness it is also a challenge. Geopolitical tensions, declining globalization and rising economic nationalism, impact of emerging technologies, and of course climate change. These are some of the challenges we should try to address both in our policy and our action. So far as the recent trends of these challenges are concerned, first, due to geopolitical tension, governments are pursuing onshoring and friendshoring of production with consequent impact on transportation, logistic cost, resulting in increased price of product. Recent events in the Red Sea have caused concern for reliance on global supply chain. In other words, export-led development will not be easy, because many of the East Asian countries had the benefit of export-led growth, which today's context will have some challenges. Second, artificial intelligence poses challenges for growth in service trade and employment, because technology might affect the cost competitiveness of countries exporting digital services. Third, the challenge of energy transition in the context of focus on reducing carbon emission, achieving trade-off between economic growth and energy transition is not going to be easy, because when we talk about reducing emission, reducing coal, there will be challenges for our growth. With technological development that are to a large extent labor saving, there is a need to look at employment potential of economic growth. It is important in order to maximize India's demographic dividend. It is essential to ensure employment of the largest possible section of the population, especially the youth. Concepts such as comparative advantage, international trade, and globalization become conventional wisdom. A widely used term, the Washington Consensus, coined in 1989 by economist John Williamson, became much prominent in the 1990s. Though economists were divided on the applicability of the Washington Consensus to developing countries, it was widely recommended for 2 decades, particularly by the international organizations. Many people argue that globalization as we know it will have to be replaced by a new understanding that rebalances national needs and needs of healthy global economy that facilitate global trade and long-term foreign investment. Possibly a new globalization model will be less intrusive, acknowledging needs of all countries, not just major powers. So some of the recommendations and policy approaches based on globalization probably have to be revisited. Because all these, what I have done, that at the outset I try to describe what is our country's vision, what is our vision of Viksit Bharat, what efforts have been made during the last 10 years. Of course, it has laid a very strong foundation. Then I try to describe some of the challenges for achieving our goal of Viksit Bharat, which we must be aware of. Now, what it appears is that there is a lot of uncertainty, particularly at the global level. The whole concept of globalization is probably changing. It is in this context that the role of economists, the role of analytical models are also important, because very often the word academic, when we talk in the bureaucratic context or political context, in a meeting, suppose you talk about some concept and all that, somebody will comment it is all academic. So that term academic is used in some sense as that somebody is not practical. But I feel that unless you are able to conceptualize right from the beginning, because many of our policy measures do not get the intended result because we have not analyzed all the aspects, all the scenarios, all the uncertainties which are there. So I would like, since there are mostly it is a gathering of economists, like to highlight a few conceptual aspects. In fact, I had mentioned some of those in a conference of economists some 5-6 months ago. When we talk about the increased uncertainty, I would like to highlight, which of course is very well known in the analytical literature, two basic approaches to address the issues of risk. For that, how do we measure risk? The first one, there are two broad approaches. The first one, based on the expected utility hypothesis, defines risk as one or another measure of dispersion of the possible outcomes. In this case, both losses and gains are considered in the choice of alternatives. This is the income variance approach. In other words, you look at both the likely gain and the likely loss and try to find some sort of an averaging the expected utility, and based on that a decision is taken. The second approach defines risk as a probability that the return to a given action will fall below a critical disaster level. This is the disaster avoidance approach. In other words, by first approach you may try to maximize something, the outcome, but if there is loss, the person who is trying to maximize, he can be something, it may be a disaster to him also. In fact, it is in this context that Michael Lipton, in a seminal paper, The Theory of the Optimizing Pageant, published very early in 1968 in the Journal of Development Studies, introduced the classical expression of survival algorithm in order to explain the idea of risk. On the basis of an empirical study in India, he pointed out that poor farmers are of necessity risk averse. They have to do their best to cover household needs, the alternative to which is starvation. The main point of the survival algorithm is that each farmer can have a very different strategy based on his land and water experience, yet all can be stable. In other words, those days the thinking was that farmers are not educated, or they are also not, they do not know what will be gain, what will be the loss. They will not like to optimize use of the resources. But he tried to show that farmer may not optimize in the conventional sense, in the sense of the income variance approach, because he has to survive. He cannot take a risk beyond a point, because if he takes risk, if he loses, then his entire survival of his survival will be at stake. So why I am saying this, that these concepts of course relate to microeconomics. They are not possibly very much conventionally used for macro issues, but a question arises in the today's context, in the context of the trends and of uncertainty I mentioned, that whether this concept can be relevant to macroeconomics also in the current context of increased uncertainty arising from global developments. Indeed, many countries today, the way they are behaving, their approach appears to be similar to the concept of survival algorithm. So this poses a challenge to our analytical research. Another example I would like to give is that when the COVID-19 pandemic engulfed the entire world, many policymakers and analysts referred to it as a black swan event. For most of us, this phenomenon came from somewhere. Everything was normal, and suddenly the virus started affecting all parts of the world. So that time I still remember when the whole virus, this thing started in the early part of 2020, in January or so. And that time when it spread in many countries, and there was a lot of uncertainty. None of us possibly knew how it will emerge, how it will shape. There was total fear and panic everywhere. Even some people suggested, I remember, that India must have immediate lockdown, but that nobody knew whether lockdown will help or not. So it was it's a very classic case of uncertainty. All through the pandemic, the policymakers have to make decisions in great uncertainty. The traditional disaster risk management paradigm is attuned to using analysis of past events, their frequency, intensity, and impact to quantify a risk and devise risk management strategies for the future. We need to bridge the gap between traditional disaster risk management and risk management in an uncertain environment. Because I had the experience during the cyclone, during heavy rains, during flood. We look at the past history, we try to see the frequency, which are the areas affected, what is the probability that same area will be affected, and then try to have a plan. But in the case of uncertainty, when the pandemic came, that time they call it a black swan event, which you cannot predict. Of course, somebody can argue that 100 years ago, the flu which had taken place, that could have been a lesson, but that lesson for 100 years one cannot remember. In this context, in the context of this black swan event, Nasib Nicholas Taleb in the 2012 book Anti-Fragile Things That Gain from Disorder has introduced the concept of anti-fragile as a solution to black swan problems. According to him, anti-fragility is beyond resilience and robustness. The resilient resists shocks and stays the same. The anti-fragile gets better. This property is behind everything that has changed with time: evolution, culture, ideas, revolutions, political systems, and technological innovations. What it tries to say that it is not enough to have resilience or robustness where you withstand all the pressure and risk. It should be anti-fragile, which should get better in the event of such challenges. Because in this context, the examples are, for example, proliferating global networks, both physical and virtual, lead to more interdependent and fragile systems. Not only risks such as pathogens, but computer virus, hacking of information network, reckless actions of financial institutions, or spectacular acts of terror can also make a system fragile. Any adverse event can cause a rolling and widening collapse, a black swan event. In the same way, the failure of a single transformer can collapse the electricity grid. In other words, as we are developing, the technology developing, the interdependence globally, everything depends on digitization. So that can also cause black swan event. In any small incident can do that. So how do we plan for that? Of course, he has given some suggestion to decentralize, to have separate systems, subsystems and so on. But these are areas, I think these are some of the conceptual aspects we need to address if we want to have a sustainable development and become a developed country. As India looks forward to achieving the goal of Viksit Bharat, higher education institutions have three distinct and interrelated roles: teaching and learning, research, and thirdly, community engagement. Each of these needs to adapt and evolve to keep abreast of a rapidly changing global environment characterized by new opportunities and challenges. Economic research can help policymakers formulate and implement policies that are based on fact and logic rather than perception and institutions. For example, when we design a policy, when we prepare a scheme, very often we go by, of course, sometimes there is shortage of time or something has to be done with, we go by our intuition, go by some perception, and we do not have time to get into facts and logic. There probably economic research can help. But at the same time, we have seen in many of the very specialized organizations dealing with finance, monetary policy and so on, which requires lot of economic concept and ideas. Economists themselves have not done very well in such organizations, whereas non-economists have done better. There are examples. That is because economic ideas, concepts and framework have evolved, of course, over the years. No doubt theoretical models cannot capture all aspects of real life scenarios. That is because economists could not do well in some contexts because economic models, economic ideas cannot capture all the real life aspects. So non-economic things or certain things, or probably to Professor K.L. Krishna is here, the econometrics also, the residual term is probably extremely important. If I do not know whether I am right, but that I think lot of work has been done, analyze the residual term. So that probably we need to build into the model in the real life scenarios. Yet they are relevant to more rational policy based on fact and logic, and also enable policymakers to optimize the use of scarce resources. As India strives to become a developed country and several measures are to be taken during the Amrit Kal, economic research can play a crucial role in shaping the economic and social policies. In the 60s, of course, it was also presented by Professor Ram Singh and also in the video. In the 60s and 1970s, and of course probably also in the 1980s, there were intense discussion on how to increase India's rate of growth. Those days, Professor Raj Krishna's expression of Hindu rate of growth was widely talked about. At the Delhi School of Economics, there were wide-ranging debate on how to increase the growth momentum. The intellectual debates in the 60s and 70s were very stimulating and thought-provoking. Even those days, possibly some of the recommendations and ideas about industrialization, liberalization and so on, possibly it was, I think, ahead of their time, and subsequently they became very common and conventional wisdom, leading to globalization, and now again we are trying to revisit some of those. Today we are at another inflection point. In recent years, as I discussed earlier, challenges caused by COVID-19 pandemic to lives and economy, trade wars between countries, geopolitical tensions in Europe and Middle East, challenges of climate change, and impact of transformational technologies such as artificial intelligence have overwhelmed the world. The challenges we face today call for new ideas and frameworks. Here I would like to quote a very old quotation from John Maynard Keynes, wrote in 1936 in the context of the economic crisis, because all of us know about Keynes. He wrote in 1936, the classical theorists resemble Euclidean geometers in a non-Euclidean world, who, discovering that in experience straight lines apparently parallel often meet, rebuke the lines for not keeping straight. Because what he wrote that the classical theories resemble Euclidean geometers in a non-Euclid, the space is non-Euclidean. So there I think when they find that the parallel lines often meet, they rebuke the lines for not keeping straight as the only remedy for the unfortunate collision which are occurring. Yet in truth there is no remedy except to throw out the axiom of parallels and to work a non-Euclidean geometry, something similarly required in today's economics. That's what he said in 36. Maybe some of that could be relevant today. So in this context, before I conclude, I have listed out a few ideas for economic research so that we can have a Viksit Bharat. We have policies, appropriate policies based on facts, not only fact but also logic and analytical vigor. Some of those research areas could be developing scenarios for the next 2 decades. Second, how to address black swan events. Third, addressing issues and limitations of globalization in the next 2 decades. What will be the form of globalization? How will it be relevant? How it will be revisited? Relevance of concept of microeconomics to issues of macroeconomics, and incorporation of artificial intelligence and quantum computing in the economic models. Finally, I have indicated some areas of economic research in the context of the emerging challenges.
Now, I invite our Honorable Chair, Vice Chancellor, Professor Yogesh Singh, to please deliver the address.
Good morning to all of you. Honorable Dr. P.K. Mishra, Chief Guest and Principal Secretary to Honorable Prime Minister of India, Professor K.L. Krishna, Professor Ram Singh, Professor Rohini Somnathan, Professor Anindita Datta, Professor Anuja Agarwal, former directors and head of the departments of Delhi School of Economics, proud alumni, Dr. A.K. Singh, Dean Faculty of Commerce, respected deans, head of the departments of University of Delhi, former director Professor Pami Dua, Dr. Vikas Gupta, registrar of the university, respected faculty members, outstanding educationists, and my dear outstanding and bright students. Good morning to all of you. Professor Ram Singh has rightly said that 3 departments of Delhi School of Economics are doing very well in terms of university rankings. University has also done very well because you are doing very well, that's why we are doing very well. And as per QS World University ranking, Delhi University this time has ranked at 328th position globally. Last year we were at 407th position, last year we were at 521 positions. So a jump of 175 points, it is unprecedented, unheard. I would like to thank all of you and congratulations for the same. And this has also seen in the recent National Institution Ranking Framework. Last year we were placed at 11th. Now this time University of Delhi has come to the place 6th position in the university category. Congratulations again. As we all know, Delhi School of Economics is doing very well, established in 1949. Now this is 75 years of excellence, academic excellence, achievements and accomplishments. University of Delhi is proud of Delhi School of Economics. A flagship school of University of Delhi, founder director Professor V.K.R.V. Rao has rightly said, and it is written on today's information bulletin also, after all there are many universities but only one school, that is Delhi School of Economics in India. Congratulations. Nothing could have been better than this. Nothing could have been better than the glorious achievements of Delhi School of Economics. Professor Rao was the first professor of University of Delhi and also served as Vice Chancellor from 1957 to 1960. Today the theme is Honoring Legacy and Inspiring Tomorrow under the framework of 75 years of academic excellence. Dr. P.K. Mishra has rightly said about the PM Sankalp of to make India as a developed nation by 2047, Viksit Bharat at 2047. And he has narrated the total theme. Very inspiring, encouraging, and we all are very confident that we will be able to do remarkably well in this mission of Viksit Bharat. But here the point is, what is Delhi School of Economics plan for contributing to the PM's vision of a Viksit Bharat by 2047? What we want to do it, because our role is crucial. Everyone expects that we will also do something for the contribution. There are some milestones we all know. Right now we are 5th largest economy. By 2027 we will be 3rd largest economy. But when we say the milestone and we talk about the Viksit Bharat, about $4 trillion to $25 trillion by 2047. But here the key is the economic growth rate, 8 to 9% economic growth rate for next 25 years. The question is how? Dr. Mishra has given us many parameters. Then the Delhi School of Economics should discuss, debate on this how point, which is very important. How can we address some of the issues of this how? How can we accelerate the growth and maintain this growth of 8 to 9% for many years? We need education. We need very effective quality education in our country because it requires strong foundation of education. Then the question arises, most of the time I think the question arises whether education drives economy or economy drives education. This is a question which is to be discussed, whether education drives economy or economy drives education. Although we all know both are interrelated, but which drives? Very inspiring finding of UNESCO shows that for every dollar spent in education generates $10 to $15 in economy, and $10 to $15 that will further lead to economic growth for any country. Our universities are crucial in nurturing the next generation of thinkers, innovators and leaders who will drive this transformation. So for the next 20-30 years we need such leaders, we need such innovators, we need such inspiring bright minds of India, those who will take part in this transformation, and Delhi School should work on this. DSE with its distinguished legacy of excellence in teaching and research play a pivotal role in this national mission. Give projects, do research, develop theories and instruments, keeping in mind that how can we accelerate economic growth of our country. DSE must focus on role in policy making by encouraging innovative research, promote evidence-based policy solutions that directly contribute to the economic growth, job creation and social equity. Dr. Mishra had rightly said about the academic research. Yes, we have to think about that. There are many things which can write, think, develop instruments academically, but when it comes to practice, what is the impact? That impact analysis is equally important. There are other milestones and challenges also. Life expectancy will be 84 years by 2047. Although population may be stabilized, but their size of population will be 165 crore people with average life expectancy of 84 years. Per capita income, we will be able to achieve $18,000 per year. These milestones will require collective effort and strategic planning, and our educational institutions must be at the forefront of this journey, and Delhi School should take lead in this so that our achievements, our instruments should inspire other universities to work in that direction. Be the leader, because we all know that peace and prosperity, both are important. Peace and the relationship between the peace and prosperity, if there is a peace, prosperity is possible. Right now, everything is under control. We have to play our role. And another important aspect is the quality of growth. Everyone is, because this is a thing which is to be discussed in the academic institutions. Two categories. One is the capex-led growth, and next is the consumption-led growth. Government of India focus is on capex-led growth, rightly so also. And Dr. Mishra has rightly said that Government of India's expenditure on capex-led is 23% of the total expenditure, which is very, very good, remarkable. But then when it comes to the consumption-led growth, now we should not confuse ourselves with the good number of research papers which are coming from the developed countries, because they are saturated themselves, their population is stabilized, they don't need additional infrastructure, only the renovation and rejuvenation work there. If they want to accelerate growth or maintain this growth, they have no option but to focus on consumption-led growth. That's why a good number of theories and research papers are coming for the promotion of consumption-led growth. But my request is, right now we should focus on capex-led, that we are doing so. We should not, and our economists should not confuse ourselves, because this discussion and this consumption-led growth will come automatically after some time. And Professor Rao has rightly said, my passion was always to make my economy useful for the nation's economic growth and the welfare of its masses. This is the time to act now. This is the time to develop such instruments which will help to enhance the economic growth. And economic growth needs good governance. Without it, even the best policies will fail. But right now, we are very confident and we have trust, and that we have a government which is providing us good governance for the country. We have a Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister, who is taking all possible steps which are necessary to accelerate the economic growth of our country. So we have to focus on this part of economic growth, ignore the inequality for now. Point is, now debate is also going on in the economic fraternity, growth versus inequality. Growth versus inequality. But my request, I'm not an economist in this room. Most of are from economists and Delhi School of Economics. I am the exception. But still I say, please defer this debate and discussion for 10 years. Growth versus inequality, because if there is more money, any redistribution policy will work. Don't worry about it. Any redistribution policy will work. Let us increase the size of the economy first. Defer this type of discussions for next 10 years. High growth means high tax returns and returns, direct and indirect. That's why we need growth. Don't confuse, just focus on growth. And this economic growth in a country usually leads to growth in innovation, as well as there is because there is a greater demand for better products and also greater competition. If we have growth, automatically that will lead to innovations, and this economic growth leads to innovation, and innovation is further leads to the economic growth. This is a cycle. People feel that we are not that innovative. No, we are innovative. Indians are very innovative, creative, and as long as the size of economy will enhance, our innovation results will also be very, very significant and remarkable to the world. I am very hopeful that this conference will create that type of mindset, that we have to answer this how. Some instruments, some methods, some formulation should come from Delhi School of Economics. Then only then our purpose will be served. When nation wants some of the formulas, some of the methods, we should be able to develop. I am very confident that we will be able to deliver such things. My good wishes to the conference, and for Delhi School of Economics for 75 years of accomplishments, achievement. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.